solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God.
I do.
Congratulations, you're now a member of the United States Congress.
It has been 50 days since the people of Arizona's 7th Congressional District elected me to represent them. 50 days that over 800,000 Arizonans have been left without access to the basic services that every constituent deserves. This is an abuse of power. One individual should not be able to unilaterally obstruct the swearing in of a duly elected member of Congress for political reasons.
So with all of that, I just want to tell you the country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you.
We have some major news right now. Overnight, House Republicans voted on key amendments that they don't want you to know about, so I need your help to spread the word. The first was an amendment proposed by Democrats to divert $40 billion in funds from Argentina to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for a period of 2 years. Republicans voted no, instead deciding to send that money to Argentina. The second amendment proposed by Democrats was to eliminate a provision in the bill to reopen the government that would allow Republican senators who had their phones seized by Jack Smith to sue and get $500,000 for each violation of your taxpayer dollars. Republicans voted against removing that provision from the legislation. The third was proposed by Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari to essentially ensure that taxpayers are never on the hook for the $350 million ballroom. Republicans voted down that amendment as well. Lots of stuff happened overnight while you were asleep, and probably that was intentional so you wouldn't know what actually happened. That's why I'm making sure that you know all the information, so spread the word. Full updates on my Substack, linked in bio, subscribe for free.
I had to step outside the House floor. The Senate budget bill that we're debating now has a corrupt provision which allows $500,000 payday for 8 senators who were investigated for their role in Trump's efforts to subvert the results of the 2020 presidential election. Senate Republicans snuck this provision into the bill. The provision, which is retroactive to 2022, allows any, quote, U.S. senator, end quote, not any citizen, mind you, not even any member of Congress, but, quote, any senator, U.S. senator, to receive $500,000 from the taxpayers if the Department of Justice subpoenas their phone records without giving them notice. And then, to add insult to injury, an extra $500,000 if DOJ seeks a lawful non-disclosure order from a federal judge. Now, who are these 8 senators that will benefit from this corrupt provision? Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Ron Johnson, Cynthia Lummis, and yes, our very own Tommy Tuberville. No matter what you think about the rest of this spending bill, I think we can all agree that this is unacceptable, to be snuck into a spending bill that reopens government, a provision as corrupt as this. Why would we vote for a bill that has this provision in it? And according to many, it was snuck in by none other than Senate Leader Thune. This is corruption in plain sight, and we should not take it. I'm voting no, but I'm really voting hell no now.
The lady from New York is recognized for 1 minute. It is great. It is great that Democrats have a line of people who are willing to fight for working class Americans from coast to coast in this country, because God forbid that we have a member of the Republican caucus who stands up and actually wants to extend the Affordable Care Act so that people with cancer, insulin, and issues across all sorts of healthcare issues across this country have their health insurance protected and extended throughout 2026. It is unconscionable that what we are debating right now is legislation that will give 8 members of the United States Senate over $1 million apiece. And we are robbing people of their food assistance and of their health care to pay for it. How is this even on the floor? How can we, as members of Congress, Republican or Democrat, vote to enrich ourselves by stealing from the American people? That is what this legislation does. In fact, Senator Graham just went before the press earlier today saying he was going to seek well over $1 million from the American people from this. We cannot support it, and we cannot stand for it. Thank you.
And I want to use this opportunity to talk about a last-minute provision that was slipped into the CR in the Senate. It's an outrageous giveaway to pad the pockets of 8 Republican senators. And it's one of the most corrupt things I've seen in my life.
Breaking news, CNN has learned there will be a meeting today inside the White House as aides try to manage a potential House vote on the release of the Epstein files. This comes, of course, just hours after Democrats on the Oversight Committee released emails from Jeffrey Epstein himself mentioning Donald Trump by name multiple times. I want to get straight to CNN's Caitlin Polantz. Caitlin, what are you learning?
Well, the House is releasing these files, but it's not everything that the federal government has. Dana, there's additional files still held by the Justice Department that some Republicans on Capitol Hill are in support of releasing. And so that is causing a political response inside the White House right now, where there is a meeting planned, or was a meeting planned today, about the House effort to try and force a vote to get the Justice Department, the Trump administration, to release the rest of the FBI files, the Justice Department files, everything from years of the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein and others, things that have not seen the light of day yet. What one source tells me, we have multiple sources confirming that this meeting is happening, but what one source tells me is that this meeting was planning to include some key figures from the Justice Department: the FBI Director Kash Patel, the Attorney General Pam Bondi, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, and then one of those Republicans in support of transparency, Republican Representative Lauren Boebert of Colorado. So what might happen at this meeting if Boebert could be swayed in a different direction on wanting transparency here? That is all something that is going to be at issue, and that the White House is clearly concerned about, having discussions about it. On top of that, Dana, another thing to remember here is that the Justice Department has tried many different ways to distract from releasing the full Justice Department files. They tried to get grand jury records out there. Blanche talked to Ghislaine Maxwell, a co-conspirator in Florida. When Ghislaine spoke to Todd Blanche, she told him that Trump himself never acted inappropriately, and she never saw anything untoward in any way toward underage girls. Dana?
Yeah, but she also said he was never at the House, and in the email, Epstein said he was at the House. So this is going to be a very interesting meeting. The fact that Lauren Boebert is going to be there is especially fascinating.
Well, how the turntable. Apparently the White House currently, as we speak, is having an emergency meeting because they're in a fucking panic over the release of the Epstein files. So now that Adelita Grijalva is going to be sworn in, she will become the 218th signature on the discharge paperwork to release the Epstein files. And Donald Trump is currently trying to pressure Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace into changing their yes votes to no votes. He doesn't care which one of them does it, as long as one of them does it. And what they're hoping is they can get one of them to change their vote to a no vote to lock it back up until December 2nd, when there's a special election happening in Tennessee. Because if this other guy, this Republican guy in Tennessee, I think his name was like Von Vanopsky or something like that, he's a Republican. If he wins, then he'll vote no because he's cool to protect pedophiles. And then it won't matter that Grijalva is voting yes. So that's where the White House is. And also, Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, and Kash Patel are also having a meeting to figure out how to deal with the fallout of the release of the Epstein files, because they see it as happening inevitably. The one thing I really want you to pay attention to here is the number of people that are going out of their way to protect people that have done the most sick, disgusting, atrocious thing that you can think of. We all know Trump is in the files. Hell, we saw Ghislaine Maxwell's email this morning that talked explicitly about Trump being with one of the victims for hours. So we know he's in the file. There's no surprise there. And we know he has no moral character. But seeing the people that are tripping over their own feet to protect him and his PD 3.0 friends is disgusting. But guess what? The panic at the White House, the meeting by Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, all of this lets us know that there's some shit in there, and when the cookie crumbles. I also spoke with some Congress people last week that once this discharge petition goes through, it'll have to go before the House floor for vote, and each Republican in the caucus will be required to put their name to a vote. And from what I'm hearing, there are several Republican members who are ready to jump ship because they refuse to have their name officially publicly recorded as protecting P3DOs. More to follow.
The major news: the White House is in chaos this morning as the backlash over the Epstein files continues to grow. Donald Trump has not publicly made a statement on his Truth Social account in more than 17 hours. Overnight, when asked about it in the Oval Office as he was signing the government shutdown reopening bill, he refused to answer. Meanwhile, the public is seeing more files released by the House Oversight Committee that suggest a much closer relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Files that show Jeffrey Epstein trying to communicate with senior government officials in the Russian government to help them understand Donald Trump. Files showing that Jeffrey Epstein said that he spent the first Thanksgiving of Trump's presidency in 2017 in Palm Beach with Trump, and much more. I'm going to continue combing through them. There are 23,000 of them. I've gone through many of them, and I'll highlight a lot of them for you throughout the day. But this is a crisis like no other for the White House.
I don't think you have somebody trying to hide files around a hoax. We know that there's something there. We know that his own attorney general had to admit that he is in the files. But they are trying to hide stuff. The only reason that we have these emails is because we were able to get them from the estate. Not because the Department of Justice was releasing information, not because Kash Patel was releasing information, even though they've had subpoenas from the Oversight Committee for some time. Kash Patel continues to hold back information. So I thank God that there is somebody that still respects the law and still respects subpoenas in this country, but it's not the people that are in power to do it, the people that actually conducted the investigation. Imagine what we may discover if we got the investigatory information versus getting something from an estate.
Well, but we should also note that the head of the Oversight Committee is a Republican. It's Republican. The chairman is James Comer, and he is the one who is issuing these subpoenas.
Well, let's be clear about this.
Okay.
This is not something that he wanted to do. This was a subcommittee, remember? It has been the Speaker of the House who has consistently tried to avoid this by shutting down the House. So what the Speaker did is he sent us out on an early recess. But before we left, it was a subcommittee of the Oversight Committee that actually did the motion for the subpoenas, and the Democrats kept pushing, and some Republicans actually joined with the Democrats. This was not led by James Comer.
Like Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know if she's on that subcommittee.
Okay.
But Nancy Mace is on that subcommittee for sure. She's actually the chair of that subcommittee. This subcommittee, the ranking member is Summer Lee. So it was that subcommittee. So this was actually the tail wagging the dog. I just want to be clear about that. And ultimately, the chairman had a vote that was bipartisan, that was the majority, and he had to do it. But whether or not they have been like slow rolling this, there's no question about the fact that they have.
Else, I probably wouldn't think it was as funny. So well done.
Thank you for being the only one on the right that gets the joke. Sean, it was a joke. And then, you know, the funniest thing about this story is Trump's all over the Epstein files. And I wonder if they're going to release that after the big bombshell. I didn't see anything about that on Fox News today. Yeah. Okay. So let's release them. Let's release those files. Is this what passes for news? Is this what passes for news on Fox News?
Why did you kiss her feet?
It's time for the Trucker John Livestream. Gonna be a good time. Oh yeah. The Trucker John Livestream. Come along for a good time. It's a good time, good time, good time, good time. Trucker John Livestream. Gonna be a good time. Gonna be the time of your life. Gonna talk some shit. Hush your mouth. Gonna talk a little smack. Gonna talk whatever comes of it. You're gonna always wanna come back. Well, yeah, it's the Trucker John Livestream. He's the biggest, baddest, funniest mother you've ever seen. Watch your mouth, he's headed south. Not even sure what that means, but if it's one thing I know, the Trucker John Livestream is the best thing you've ever seen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Trucker John.